You keep breaking promises to yourself. Not the big ones, the small ones. The 5 a.m. alarm you swore you'd honor. The drink you said was the last one. The text you knew better than to send. The gym bag in the corner that has been packed for 3 days. The book on the nightstand you keep meaning to open. And every time you let it slide, a little more of you goes with it. You do not feel it all at once. It is slower than that. It is the quiet erosion of a man who used to believe his own word. You look in the mirror and you do not hate what you see. But you do not fully respect it either. And that is worse. Because hatred can be fought. Indifference just rots. So sit with this line. You do not rise to your goals. You fall to your standards. And most men's standards are weak. Not because they are bad men. Because nobody ever taught them the difference between a standard and a speech. So they keep saying the same things. I need to lock in. I need to get serious. I'm done playing around. Then life gets tired, tempted, pressed, distracted, lonely, disrespected. And suddenly, the thing that was non-negotiable on Sunday is negotiable by Tuesday. And here is the part nobody wants to hear. By the time you feel the cost of that drift, it is already in your bloodstream. It is already in how your wife looks at you, how your kid talks to you, how you talk to yourself at 2 a.m. That ends here. 7 steps. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to build standards that hold under real pressure and how a mentor turns them from talk into structure. The first one is where most men already lose. Pay attention. A lot of men are trying to build a strong life on top of weak agreements with themselves. That is the whole problem. They call something a standard because they said it once with emotion. That is not a standard. That is a speech. A standard is not what you say when you are fired up. It is what still stands when you are tired, annoyed, tempted, ignored, and behind. Picture a man building a fence around his land. If the posts are loose, it does not matter how straight the fence looks from a distance. The first real pressure bends the whole thing. That is how most men live. Strong language. Loose posts. They talk about discipline, but sleep in. Talk about leadership, but avoid hard conversations. Talk about standards, but fold the second holding one costs them something. And pressure always comes. Always. A mentor sees that fast. He is not listening to the speech. He is watching the pattern. 7 steps. Let's build the posts. Step 1. Stop calling preferences standards. This is where it starts. And this is where most men already lose. Most men do not have standards. They have preferences they feel strongly about. There is a difference. A preference says, I'd like to. A standard says, I do. A preference bends when the mood changes. A standard stays put. Here is the principle. If it disappears the second it gets inconvenient, it was never a standard. Picture a man saying, I don't tolerate disrespect. Sounds strong. Then a coworker throws a sharp tone at him in a meeting. His buddy takes a jab at him in front of the group. His kid talks back, and he is too tired to deal with it. And he laughs it off. Swallows it. Explains it away. Lets it slide. Again. Now the truth is out. He does tolerate it. He just does not like it. That matters. Because you cannot build a strong life on claims your behavior keeps disproving. A mentor cuts through the fog with one question. Is this a standard you live, or a preference you admire? That question clears a room out. Because a lot of men are emotionally attached to identities they have not earned. So here is your move. Take one thing you keep saying matters. Respect. Sobriety. Fitness. Prayer. No phone at dinner. No lying. And ask yourself honestly, is this actually a standard in my life, or just something I like the sound of? The man who stops lying about his standards can finally start building them. And once you stop lying about them, the next step is where they start costing you. Step 2. Tie the standard to a cost you refuse to keep paying. Men do not change because something sounds good. They change when the cost gets clear. Here is the principle. A standard becomes non-negotiable when the pain of breaking it outweighs the discomfort of keeping it. Picture a man who keeps telling himself he needs to get serious about the drinking, the porn, the debt, the laziness, the anger, being absent at home. He knows it is not good. But not good is weak language. Weak language does not move men. Then one day the cost gets specific. His wife stops looking at him the same. His kid stops coming to him first. His body starts showing the bill. His bank account exposes the drift. His confidence starts leaking. Because he knows he is not living clean. Now it is not theoretical. Now it is expensive. A mentor helps a man name that cost without hiding behind soft words. Not, this probably isn't helping. No. This is costing me trust. This is costing me peace. This is costing me leadership in my own house. This is costing me the man I said I wanted to become. Once that cost gets named, the standard gains weight. Because now it is not about sounding serious. It is about refusing to keep bleeding in the same place. So here is the exercise. Pick one area where you keep folding. Write down the exact price you are paying for not holding a standard there. Not vague, exact. That is how a man stops flirting with change and starts needing it. The standard gets real when the cost of not having it gets personal. Now, once you know what it's costing you, you have to make it something you can actually see. That's step 3. Step 3. Make the standard behavioral, not emotional. A lot of men think standards are feelings. They are not. They are behaviors. Here is the principle. If your standard cannot be seen, it cannot be enforced. Picture a man saying, I want to be more disciplined. Fine. What does that mean on Tuesday at 6:15 a.m.? When the alarm goes off and the floor is cold? What does that mean at 8:40 p.m.? When the phone is in his hand and nobody is watching? What does that mean when money is tight and comfort is cheap? If he cannot answer that, he does not have a standard. He has a vibe. A behavioral standard sounds different. I wake up at 5:30 on workdays. I do not take my phone into the bathroom. I train 4 days a week no matter how I feel. I do not miss dinner with my family for avoidable reasons. I tell the truth the first time. I address disrespect in the moment. Now we are dealing with something real, something visible, something testable, something a man can measure himself against on a Wednesday. A mentor forces this step because vague men hide in adjectives. Focused, better, locked in, intentional. That language builds nothing. A mentor makes the man translate emotion into action, not be a better husband. What does that mean? Phone down from 6 to 8. Ask one real question at dinner. Handle the repair I said I'd handle 3 weeks ago. That is a standard. Build yours like that. Visible, testable, repeatable, because if it cannot be seen in behavior, it will vanish under pressure. The man who turns standards into actions stops mistaking emotion for structure. But behavior alone is not enough. Behavior without identity eventually cracks. That is step 4. Step 4. Root the standard in identity, not image. This is where standards start actually holding. A man will break standards built for appearance much faster than standards built from identity. Every time. Here is the principle. Image asks, how do I look? Identity asks, who am I becoming? That difference changes everything. Picture 2 men trying to get in shape. Same program, Same gym, same Tuesday night. Both tired. The first man is doing it to post progress, impress people, and feel admired. The second man is doing it because he decided, quietly and cleanly, I am a man who does not live soft. Same workout. Different route. The first man folds the first week, nobody notices. The second man keeps going. Why? Because the standard is not about applause anymore. It is about agreement with himself. This is why image-built standards collapse so easily. A man says, I'm off social media. Why? Because he wants to feel superior for a week. Then he is back. A man says, I'm going to leave my house. Why? Because he got emotional after one hard conversation. Then nothing changes. A mentor digs under the behavior and asks a better question. What kind of man requires this standard? A man who wants to be trusted should have standards around truth and follow through. A man who wants to lead should have standards around courage, presence, and ownership. A man who wants peace should have standards around appetite, attention, and what he lets into his mind. That is how standards become stable. They stop being random rules. They become proof of identity. Standards hold longest when breaking them feels like betraying the man you are trying to become. Let me press this for a second. A lot of men like the language of standards because it sounds strong. Strong language is cheap. What matters is what survives contact with real life. The next 3 steps are where most men lose their nerve. Because now the standard stops being an idea. Now it starts costing something. That is where formation begins. Stay with me. Step 5. Decide the consequence before the failure happens. Most men fail twice. First, when they break the standard. Second, when they do nothing about it. Here is the principle. A standard without a consequence is just advice. Picture a man who says, I don't miss workouts. Then he misses one. What happens now? If the answer is nothing, the standard just got exposed as weak. Or a man says, no porn, no drinking, no phone in bed, no disrespect in my house. Fine. What happens when he breaks it? If he has no answer, then the standard only exists while obedience is easy. A mentor gets the consequence in place before the moment comes, not to be dramatic, to remove negotiation. Here is what that can look like in a real man's life. A guy I know had a problem with his phone at night, scrolling until 1 a.m, wrecking his sleep, wrecking his marriage, wrecking his mornings. He tried willpower, failed. Tried apps, failed. So finally, he made a deal with his wife. Every time he was on his phone in bed after 10, he owed her $100. Cash. In her hand. The next morning. No arguing, no grace. He paid her $300 the first week. 0 the week after. 0 every week since. That is the mechanism. Pain installed before the failure, not after. Some men resist this because it feels harsh. No. Going through life as a man whose word means nothing to himself, that is harsh. A small preset consequence is not punishment. It is respect. It is you telling yourself, I take me seriously. The standard becomes non-negotiable when failure stops being free. But here's the thing about consequences. They only work if you are willing to enforce the standard in the small moments nobody is watching. That is step 6. Step 6. Enforce the standard in small moments, not just big ones. This is where standards either compound or die. Most men only try to enforce standards when the moment is dramatic. By then, it is too late. Here is the principle. A standard is built in small moments long before it is tested in a big one. Picture a man who says one of his standards is, I don't let people disrespect me. Good. Then his buddy takes a sideways shot at him in front of the other guys at the bar. Cuts him down. Gets a laugh. He smiles. Lets it ride. Says nothing. Why? because it feels too small to address. He tells himself he will speak up if it ever gets serious. But that small moment was the rep. That was the training set. That was the chance, calm and clean, to say, "Don't talk to me like that." He missed it. So when the big test comes 2 years later, when his boss humiliates him in a meeting, when a man disrespects his wife at a dinner, he will probably miss that one too. Because he never trained the muscle. Small moments train identity. Big moments reveal it. A mentor watches the small stuff, the missed call you said you'd return, the weak handshake, the half-truth, the apology you owe but keep delaying, the line you keep saying you'll hold next time. He presses on those things, not to shame you, but because he knows a man who is loose in small moments does not suddenly become iron in a big one. Non-negotiable standards are not built in theory. They are built in reps. Daily, boring, unseen. That is what makes them strong. The man who enforces standards in small moments becomes the man who can hold them when the stakes go up. And one last step, the one that turns every step before it from personal experiment into real formation. Step 7. Put another man in the loop. This is where standards stop being private wishes and start becoming structure. A lot of men say they want accountability. Most do not. They want encouragement. Different thing. Here is the principle. A standard becomes far stronger when another man has permission to confront the gap between your claim and your behavior. Picture the difference. Monday morning. You had a bad weekend. You broke the standard. Now imagine 2 scenarios. Scenario 1. Nobody knows. You carry it alone. Rationalize it. By Wednesday, it is like it never happened, and the standard quietly gets weaker. Scenario 2. You have to text one man. And you tell him what happened. He does not yell. He does not shame you. He just asks, "What are you going to do differently this week?" Then he asks you again on Friday. That second scenario, that is how men are actually built. Private standards let you cheat quietly. You rename failure. Soften the story. Delay repair. Pretend you are working on it. A mentor kills that fog. He is not there to babysit you. He is there to keep truth in the room. I know a man who wanted no more outbursts at home. His mentor told him, "Text me every night for 14 days. Green if you held it. Red if you broke it. No paragraph, no spin. Just the truth." That changed everything. Because the standard left fantasy and became measurable. Now the man had to decide whether he wanted comfort or congruence. Find that man. Ask him. And be willing to be that man for somebody else too. Because you cannot become the man you are supposed to be in isolation. It has never worked. It will never work. Every generation of men who tried to do it alone produced a generation of sons who were starving. Get connected. Stay connected. Hold each other to the line. The standard gets stronger the moment another man has permission to tell you when you are lying to yourself. So here is where you are now. You came into this video thinking you had a discipline problem. You do not. You have a standards problem. And standards are not built through feeling. They are built through language, cost, behavior, identity, consequence, reps, and brotherhood. That changes the game because now you know the issue was never motivation. It was structure. And structure can be built. You are not the man who breaks his word to himself anymore. That guy is behind you. He served his purpose. He got you this far. But he does not get to drive from here. The man in front of you is different. He does not confuse preferences with standards. He knows the cost of folding. He makes his standards visible. He roots them in who he is becoming. He sets the consequence in advance. He trains in the small moments. And he walks with men who will not let him fall quietly. That is who you are now. Not someday. Now. The moment you decide it. Here is your move this week. Pick one area where your words and your behavior are not matching. Just one. Then run all 7 steps on that one area. Write the standard. Name the cost. Make it behavioral. Tie it to identity. Set the consequence. Enforce it in one small moment. Tell one real man by Sunday. Do not build 10 weak standards. Build one real one, because one real standard will do more for a man than 10 emotional declarations ever will. A man without standards will be negotiated by everything around him. By comfort, by pressure, by appetite, by whoever speaks loudest in the room. A man with standards is an anchor. For himself, for his family, for every man who comes after him. Now build a standard your weaker self cannot vote against. Then live it. If this landed, good. That means you are ready. Subscribe to Someone to Be. Hit like so the algorithm puts this in front of another man who needs it. Share it with one man who has been negotiating with himself too long, and drop the word standards in the comments so I know you are in. Find someone to look up to. Become someone others can look up to. Become someone to be. I will see you in the next one.